Hi, welcome to another edition of Fit for Function. My name's Steve Lewis. Today we're going to look at the function of the back swinging golf. That's right, the back swinging golf. We're going to particularly look at the function of the right hip, because we know that in golf that the hips really are the power source, as Gary Gray would say. And if we can unleash that potential, that power in those hips, we're going to have a much more efficient and effective, more powerful swing. So I know with my right hip, as I take my backswing, that there's three planes of motion I've got to tap into: transverse plane, frontal plane, and sagittal plane. The sagittal plane component comes in when I sit into my backswing position. So as soon as I sit myself ready to hit my club, as I sit to the side, you'll see that I flex back and move backwards in the sagittal plane. So I need a flexion at the hip there, where the pelvis comes anteriorly and the femur comes towards the front part of the pelvis. That's going to lengthen up the hamstrings and a few other bits and bobs. From there, we've also got, as I turn my shoulders, my pelvis starts to turn on the femur, and that creates relative internal rotation of this right hip. So then we're going to look at freeing up that motion there, that transverse plane component, where we really tap into a lot of power there. We really got glute max and a lot of the gluteal complex. The fibers are really orientated in that direction, and they're going to give us a lot of power if we can lengthen them really well and then fire out of them. So we've got our flexed component, sagittal plane, rotational component. We've also got our frontal plane component. This occurs as when we take the backswing position, as my weight transfers to this right side, gravity takes hold of this left side and just drops this pelvis down just a fraction. That dropping action is going to lengthen the lateral component of this right hip, again giving me the potential to get more power from the muscles that cross that joint. Okay, so in order to unleash the potential of that right hip, we're going to use a pre-positioning technique with the arms. I'm going to take myself into my backswing. I'm now going to drive the sagittal plane component with my hips nice and smoothly. I'm going to use a mobilizing technique to free up the joints, the muscles, and the fascia. I'm then going to go at the frontal plane component, holding this position, and just gently moving into the frontal plane. Now as I do this, I'm making sure that with all these drives that I'm keeping a good ground contact with the inside of my right foot. That makes sure I get a really good, effective reaction, chain reaction, as Gary Gray from the Gray Institute would say, through the entire system. Okay, I'm now going to go the transverse plane element of that, so I'm just going to rotate, pivot this left hip in, pivot round. So I'm getting this internal rotation and lengthening of the gluteal complex in the transverse plane. Now as I go into my backswing position and I take my setup, I'm really free here and I feel like I get a really nice turn without bailing out through my lower back or my knee flaring out. I already have quite bandy legs, so I need to really work at this to be able to keep control of that right knee to stop it from flaring out. So this is a drill which I use quite a lot, and it's very, very effective. Try it on yourself, try it with your clients. Very, very effective tool. Again, this is one component of how powerful our knowledge of applied functional science and mobilizers in three-dimensional motion is for ourselves and clients. So again, thanks for watching another edition of Fit for Function. My name's Steve Lewis, and I'll see you again soon.